Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me again, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you. Another offering off my sampler platter. Yes, indeed, folks. Sampler series reviews I've been doing for a little while now. I go over there, try out food and drink items. The stuff I drink stuff, then, folks, I'm going to talk about stuff. I'm going to let you know all that you need to know about hopefully delicious stuff. That time I'm doing this, folks, I'm not going to lie. I sure am hungry today, so I hope this is good. But we'll get to that. Folks, it's super simple format. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to try out food and or drink items for you. Whilst I'm doing so, I'm yammering out about it for a bit. Whilst I'm doing all that, I'm inside my truck. And whilst I'm doing all that, folks, oh yeah, I'm wearing a super cool shirt. And folks, when I wear super cool shirts, I always like to highlight the super cool shirt. What super cool shirt am I wearing today, folks? It just so happens to be my Cold Chamber shirt. One of two that I own. Specifically because I've seen Cold Chamber live twice. I saw them, I got this shirt back when they reunited for the first time back in, I think, like the early 2010s. Something like, yeah, it would have had to have been because it was over 10 years ago now. And then I got to see them perform last year in 2023 when they reunited again. Yeah. And the cool thing for me in that span of time, if you're not familiar, Cold Chamber's a nu metal band. They were like one of the real early nu metal bands. Cool thing for me was that in that like time difference between getting to see them, I became a much bigger fan. Like the first time I saw them, it was almost kind of because they were reuniting. Like I knew of them, I'd listened to some of their music, but I wasn't that big a fan. It was just a cool experience, and I wanted to be part of it. And then it was a fucking amazing show. I definitely came out a bigger fan after that. But then in like the 10 years plus since then, I've become like a proper fan, really enjoy their stuff. So much so that the last time I saw them, I actually went over there and got a number of videos that I took. They are also on this channel, just in case maybe you want to go over there and check out some cool Cold Chamber stuff or whatever. And hey, if you ever want to just talk music or whatever, just hit me up in the comments. I always love talking about stuff. But anyway, what am I trying for you today, folks? What are we doing here? Well, it's been a little bit since I've been to this place, but we headed back to Charleys Cheesesteaks, because they have a new cheesesteak of the month, basically. Looks like. Open. Open. Oh my god, that. Boom! Look at that! That's ridiculous. This is their brand spanking new Kentucky Bourbon Cheesesteak, which consists of bourbon glaze, cheddar, sauteed onions, French onion crisps, lettuce, and tomato. Now, I'm going to say this right now. They do this thing, and it bugs the hell out of me, because they always include lettuce and tomato. Why? Let's be honest, we don't need it for this. I get it because that's the standard, that's what they're presenting, but I don't think they need to be there. But that could be wrong. Anyway, what with this being what it is, I know it's a cheesesteak, but I'm counting this as effectively a sub sandwich review because it's kind of a regional version of a sub sandwich. What with it being a sub sandwich review? 3 things I got to preface it with. Number 1, for over 2 years now, I've been going on sub sandwich adventures. What that means is I've been going out to basically every place that sells sub sandwiches and their varieties. And I've been going over there, trying them out, reviewing them, posting them to YouTube. Second thing, I'm such a nice guy, I don't just post them to YouTube. I actually have an entire playlist called Subs for Subs where all of my sub sandwich reviews end up. So if you like my sub sandwich reviews, first of all, thank you very much. Secondly, that's where you got to go. You just got to go to that playlist. At the time I'm doing this, I have over 100 sub sandwich reviews. That leads into number 3. Because maybe you're greedy. Maybe that's not enough sub sandwich review and goodness for you. All you have to do, folks, wait until Sunday. Why? Because Sunday is SUBday. That's the kitschy little thing that I came up with. Sunday is the day when I go over there and I upload my sub sandwich reviews. Typically, you're going to get a couple of them, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, one time 1. But anyway, let's... This is so ridiculous. And there's just, I don't know, man. I just don't think there's a reason for the... Oh, and I've reviewed stuff from Charleys before, by the way, so... Man, oh man, this is going to be sloppy as shit. But... because I want to get a thing for the thing. I mean, this is just basically straight up bar food at this point, which I'm like, super down for it. It looks like that. That's so ridiculous. Let's give it a go. Oh. A nice bourbon glaze. Gives it almost a little bit of a teriyaki kind of thing. Like, not quite, but like, it gives it a little extra sweetness to it. Which actually I'm a little bit surprised by. Typically, like, I've had other, like, bourbon-based things. And, you know, yeah, usually you get a little sweetness. This is a little bit sweeter than I'm used to, though. Oh. That's good, man. I got a lot. It's sloppy and ridiculous and decadent. It's what a good fucking cheesesteak should be. Mind you, I say that, man. Never had what I would consider a proper cheesesteak. Charleys is fine, but I doubt very much that they would stand up against, you know, like actual Philly cheesesteaks. But I do like what I'm getting here. Oh. A little bit sweet, savory. I think the cheddar was a really good choice. I think if they'd used a weaker cheese, would have been completely lost, because even the cheddar's having to fight, but it's there. It's doing what it needs to do. The onions, they are there. I'm kind of surprised that the crispy onions don't add more of a texture. But, like, I mean, they're properly crispy. But I think it's just, you got so much of that bourbon glaze, it's hard for them to really do much. But they do add in a little bit of textural difference. They kind of add something a little bit to it. I think that in this case, that plus the sauteed onions, even though I'm not the biggest onion guy in the world, I think that they really do need to be here, because otherwise, as tasty as that bourbon glaze is, I think it would just be almost too sweet, you know? And, like, it's not a super sweet glaze. I'm not trying to, I feel like maybe I'm presenting it as such. It's not, but it is, again, maybe just a little bit sweeter than what I'm used to with bourbon glazes that I've had. And I think with the onions, they kind of help rein it back in a little bit. But I really like this, man. This is a good one. You know, Charleys, typically they're good. You know, they can be a little bit hit or miss, but I don't think I've ever had anything that I've disliked from them. But actually, I think this one's really good. I think it does a good job of highlighting the featured event, you know, with the bourbon glaze. I think that it does a good job of being cohesive just as a sandwich. 2 questions have to be asked, folks. Would I get it again? Would I recommend it? I'm going to go with yes and kind of yes. Well, for me personally, again, I don't know if I would say it's definitely not my favorite implementation of a bourbon glaze. I do like it, and, you know, I think that, again, overall, I think it works well, even with the lettuce and the tomato don't need to be there. You know, I mean, I guess they help, in theory, freshen it up a little bit, you know, just make it a little bit less heavy, but, yeah, in this, they don't really do much. You know, they're fairly ethereal. You could probably get it without it, and I don't think that you would miss them. But I do think that the overall of the sandwich is just nice. It's hearty. It's decadent. It's a little bit ridiculous, and I think that that's perfectly fine. So for me, yeah, I could see getting it again. If I'm recommending it, you know, it's obviously not going to be for everyone. This isn't one that I'm going to go over there and, like, shout from the rooftops that everybody needs to try. You got to be in with certain things, you know. If you've never had, like, a bourbon glaze before, you know, I mean, I wouldn't let this be the first thing that you try with that. I think there's better versions of it. But I do think that, yeah, man, it's just, I think if you just enjoy it for what it is, it's fun, it's like, again, kind of bar food style, it's ridiculous and sloppy and fun, and I think that those are perfectly admirable things. Even if I wouldn't consider it an outright standout, it's certainly noteworthy in its own way. But anyway, 5 things before I get out of here. Have yourself a great rest of your day, spectacular rest of your week, monumental rest of your month, stupendous rest of your folks. Go over there, have yourselves a truly proper cheesesteak-tastic rest of your life. Again, I've never, one of these days, man, I say this like I'm gonna do it, but it's like one of these days, yeah, man, I'd love to like travel to Philly or something like that. Maybe if I like could get like tagged in on like a road trip, or if somebody was going there. Because, like, if it's just up to me to make that happen, I'm so shit when it comes to, like, long-term planning. But I would like to try out a real one. Well, 2 things. Number 1, try to bring some positivity in the world. It's not always possible. It is, however, always appreciated. But what you do if you can't do all the time, I know I can't do all the time. Here's what you're going to do, folks. You're going to try not to be an asshole. Folks, not always the easiest thing in the world to not be an asshole. Trust me. I know it. I live it. I'm out there every day with you in it. Life can be stressful, frustrating, and just sometimes really bullshit. And when we find ourselves in situations like that where we have to deal with said bullshit, it's important we go over there, at least try. Take a step back, try to mitigate the level of assholishness in our lives, hopefully do better for ourselves and for those around us. Very final thing, folks, do the thing. Whatever that thing is for you, that's what I want you to go out and do. Folks, maybe you're going to go over there. Maybe you're going to try out the Bourbon Blaze, what the hell ever thing from Kentucky Bourbon Cheesesteak thing from Charleys. And maybe you're like an actual, expert on Kentucky bourbon. And maybe you're going to go over there and be like, well, actually, Brandon, the particular bourbon that they use in this blend comes from... And I'll be like, oh, that's really neat, because that's cool and I like to learn things. And that will likely be the end of our whole little thing. I always do really appreciate it, though, when people, like, kind of help educate me on this stuff, because it's like, I had one person go over there and they complained. They're like, oh, you should look into this stuff more, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dude, I upload, like, typically 3 reviews a day. I have over 2,000 videos. If I were to go over there and actually, research all this stuff, it would have to be my full-time job. I would have to actually be making money from this in order to make it worth it. No, man, I'm just a simple guy wearing a cold chamber shirt. I just roll up and I'm just like, boom, sandwiches. Boom, Mountain Dew. Boom, there we go. Bye.